The U.S. Senate confirmed Sonia Sotomayor to the nation's highest court today. The federal appeals court judge will now become the first Hispanic justice and the third woman to sit on the United States Supreme Court. Jeffrey Brown has our lead story report.
On this vote, the yeas are 68 and the nays are 31.
The confirmation vote this afternoon made Judge Sotomayor the 111th justice in Supreme Court history. Democrat Robert Menendez was asked whether Republicans would suffer because so many opposed the first Hispanic justice.
For the Hispanic community, which is not monolithic, it was monolithic about Judge Sonia Sotomayor. If you meet all of the challenges that you are told you need to meet, and still you can be told no, despite fidelity to the Constitution, the law, and precedent, then it sends a tough message to us as a community. And I think that message is one that will be seriously viewed in the days ahead.
And now for some perspective on what today's confirmation means to the Hispanic community and beyond, we turn to Ramona Ramiro, president of the Hispanic National Bar Association, Danny Vargas, chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, and Andrew Kohut, president of the Pew Research Center for the People and the Press. Ramona Ramiro, what does the confirmation mean to you?
To me, it's a dream come true. It's a reaffirmation that we Latinos can be recognized as contributing members of our society and that there are no limits to what we can achieve.
Danny Vargas, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it's a moment to be celebrated. It's a great American story, not just for Hispanics, but all Americans, of a woman who worked hard, got educated, did the right things, and was able to achieve great success in her professional life and her personal life. I think at the same time, though, I would say that it was good and right that she went through a rigorous, strict scrutiny through the hearings process and was able to answer tough questions from both Democrats and Republicans.
You told us before she would not have been your nominee.
She would not have been my nominee. I think I would have preferred a nominee that would have, from an ideological perspective, been more to the center. She's clearly left of center. But I think in her rulings over her 17 years on the federal bench, she's demonstrated that she can be mainstream for the most part. But I can see where sincere senators would have some real issues with some of her rulings and some of her statements in the past. So.
And you talked with a number of them in the days beforehand about those very things. So they were wrestling with that.
They were wrestling with it. I think many, for example, Orrin Hatch, who's been a champion within the Hispanic community for many years, he wanted to see a Hispanic on the Supreme Court. Miguel Estrada would have been a great nominee to go through the appeals court process and eventually become a Supreme Court nominee. He was treated very, very badly by the Democrats during his process to become confirmed. So I think it's going to be very important for us to be able to say that while she was a great nominee, there were issues that people had with
Ms.
her.
Ramiro, there was a lot during this whole process. There was a lot of talk, just to stay with the Senate debate process, a lot of talk about the role of ethnicity in a person's and gender and a person's ability to be a judge and how that would play as a judge. What did you take from that debate? Was it helpful? Was it healthy? Did anything useful come from that?
Well, I mean, I find ironic that the folks who focused on that issue do not think about the fact that 106 of 110 Supreme Court justices have been white males. And inherent in a lot of the questions is the premise that only white males can be impartial. I also disagree with Mr. Vargas's assessment that there are issues for sincere senators to be concerned about. The test cannot be whether you agree or disagree with a judge's likely ruling. So I think it's a horrible standard to impose on a judge that you can only get my vote if I'm a U.S. Senator if I'm likely to agree with your opinions.
Mr. Vargas, what did you make of the debate that took place over the last weeks?
Again, we're not going to replay the hearings here, but I think what we had to see was, and my recommendation to Republican senators was to make sure that we had a fair and respectful process, go through the strict scrutiny, ask the tough questions, because I think even Judge Sotomayor would have preferred to have that strict scrutiny so she can go through the tough questions. But I think the real concern, though, is not a particular, how she might vote on a particular case, but her view of the role of the court. We do have three branches of government that go through this balancing act, through this tug of war every day. So I think some of the concerns of sincere senators was what her view of the court was going to be moving forward.
For the last 6 to 8 weeks, we found solid majorities or majorities of the public saying that she should be confirmed. The last poll fit by a margin of 50 to 28%. Now, as you might expect, among Hispanic citizens, the margins of support were much higher, 61 to 13%.
So, Ms. Romero, what does that interest and now the confirmation translate into, particularly in terms of politics, the political impact? We heard Senator Martinez in our piece. What do you think will be the impact?
Well, I think we are generous people. We forgive, but we don't forget. And I think the Republican Party missed a great opportunity to reconnect and re-engage with the Latino community. I was sitting in the gallery today, and I was taking notice of who voted yes and who voted no. And more importantly, there were watch parties throughout the country today. I think it sent a horrible message to the Hispanic community because we offered one of our very best, and they found her wanting.
Mr. Vargas, will there be political repercussions?
There may be, but I'll be honest with you. I think what Republicans will need to do is to point out the fact that Democrats treated conservative nominees like Miguel Estrada, like Janice Rogers Brown, very, very unfairly and very negatively. Judge Sotomayor was treated with respect. She was given a fair process. At the end of the day, though, it's going to be up to Hispanics to realize where this fits in the equation. I think they will have seen this vote as something that they didn't like, they didn't agree with, but in the big scheme of things, there are things like the economy, things like health care, things like foreign policy that they will also take into account as they move forward in voting in the future. And
how diverse is that community? We heard Mr. Senator Menendez talked about it is a diverse, but in this case, he thought it was a single block. Do you agree?
And I agree. I think by and large, the vast majority of Hispanics supported Judge Sotomayor's nominations to the court. I would expect moving forward, we're going to keep watching how she rules in the future. I would love to be able to see her move forward and become a great Supreme Court justice. I think her personal story and her life accomplishments would be a great example to not just young Hispanics coming up, but all Americans. It's a great American story. But we're just going to keep an eye on how she rules in the future on those important issues that will affect all Americans.
The Republicans are in a deep hole with Hispanic voters. In the first term, they were doing quite nice. The Republicans were doing quite nicely thanks to President Bush's popularity with Hispanic voters. They won 44% of the vote in 04. That fell to 30% in 06 and 30% in 08. And we have a situation where the Republican Party is 88% white Anglo, the same percentage that was white Anglo in 2000. The Democrats, on the other hand, have changed from 64% white Anglo to 56% in 8 years. Hispanic voters are not attracted to the Republican Party by a margin of 55 to 8%. The Pew Hispanic Center found it's the Democrats who care more about the interests of Hispanics in this country. A problem.
What about for the legal system more broadly, though? Do you see some kind of broader impact?
I think it's important because our justice system relies on public trust and confidence in its impartiality. It is important that that system reflects all segments of society. Hispanics are obviously the fastest growing and largest minority in the country, so the picture matters. It's important for Hispanic children, and it's important for all people in this country for the picture of the Supreme Court to reflect the broad scope, the rich mosaic that we are as a people.
Mr. Vargas, the last word.
No, and I agree. I think the optics of it, of having a Hispanic on the Supreme Court after all these years, is a wonderful thing. I think it's a monumental historic occasion. But I agree with Senator Hatch in that I think it would have been preferable to have a nominee that may not have been that controversial. I think the Republicans in the Senate also sent a message to President Obama saying, this is the line. Don't go any further to the left than this in any future Supreme Court nominations that you might have.
All right. Danny Vargas, Andy Kohut, and Ramona Romero, thank you all very much.